I want to start with the fact that the game got on Drink Champs and said a whole lot.
That's what I heard.
Shout out to everybody in the room. We got a bunch of people in the room. The game got on Drink Champs and said a whole lot, but one thing that really stood out was the fact the game said that he is better than Eminem and that he would beat Eminem in the verses. He said he even dialed back to, I guess, one of the previous interviews that someone, that someone did of him like maybe 10 something years ago. People keep pulling it up where he said that nobody wants with Eminem. You know, the thing that all the rappers say, right? Blah blah blah. And so he said that I used to think Eminem was better, and now I say I'm better. Whatever. So, I kind of went out there and gave my thoughts on it on Monday, put it out in the channel because, I know we were waiting to do our show on Wednesday. I didn't want a topic to get stale or whatnot. And Eminem fans are coming at me because I agreed with the game. I feel like game, we'll get into all the particulars of it, but I want to read this one comment that was under that post. I was labeled a racist because I agreed with game, but here it is. Let me put it on the screen. A gentleman named Grimy for Life says, first of all, Mike D is a racist. I've listened to enough of his BS to call it like it is. He is so proud that the game stood up to Eminem when so many others wouldn't, and it is obvious that he means other black rappers. He acts like Eminem has no reason to be as famous as he is except for being white. Maybe Mike D should admit that other rappers don't step to Eminem because they know that he is top tier skilled, and the ones that do are clout chasing. I get tired of hearing the excuse that M's record sales don't count because white people are supporting him based solely on his skin color. Guess what? Guess what? What race do you think is buying most of your favorite rappers' records? Yeah, white people. Not to mention that there are plenty top 10 rappers that say that Eminem is one of the best to ever do it. Go Google it. Also, it's funny how Mike D acts like a versus isn't about popularity and hit records. Eminem has at least 20 records that most people could name off the top. Without Me, Lose Yourself, My Name Is, Stand, Till I Collapse, and on and on and on. Go out in the streets and ask people to name their favorite game record. They would be lucky to name two. And those are probably old hits with G Unit. Eminem is the most popular rapper in the world, black, white, yellow. It doesn't matter. Deal with it. One more thing. It would be nice if Mike D at least knew Eminem's catalog. It is always interesting to hear negative opinions on Eminem's talent when those people clearly only have heard his radio records and figure everything else he has done is just rapidy rap. Mike D needs to stop. His ignorance on Eminem is laughable.
You want to go, Mike? I mean, you need a break. You want a moment? You want to get a drink of water right quick? There's a nice long diatribe. Go ahead, take you a break. Take you a breather.
Well, first of all, I want everyone to know that I'm...
No, go
well,
ahead.
you know what? First of all, I think it's important to say I never mention anything about Eminem being white. I never do. I never do. I think that's first of all. And in the video or whatever, I just talked about music. I never mentioned anything about Eminem being white. So, pulling the white card, if that's even a thing, I think is very ill-advised because I never mentioned race in any of this. But one part of here was that stuck out to me a lot, right? LP said, "Oh, racist ass Mike." Right. I'm on the wrong. Okay, listen. One part that really stuck out to me is when he said, all right, Mike D should admit that other rappers don't step to Eminem because they know he has top tier skills, and the ones that do are clout chasing. So you're telling me that if you don't step to Eminem, you're scared, but if you do, you're clout chasing. What's going on, man?
What are we doing? Okay, so when I hear people talk like this, and I'm not going to try to give it too much weight, but it's just like, the entitlement that like white people feel like in just every spectrum in sphere sometimes is surprising. Mike really doesn't bring up Eminem's whiteness. Now I'll tell you who does bring up his whiteness. Oh, that would be me. I be bringing up his white ass.
I don't. And the reason why I don't, because I know that's a convenient cop out. Because as soon as you say that, then the conversation goes left, and we're not talking about music anymore. You know,
I talk about his whiteness. Mike doesn't, but what it is that you show, your level of entitlement when you bring up his whiteness without us even mentioning it at all. So it's like you kind of like show your face and kind of like show your card and show who you are in the process of doing this diatribe. So like I hope you're watching today and like paying attention to like your own habits, because it's like now we see who you are clearly. So you might want to change that YouTube name and come up with something more creative, like, I don't know, Leroy Green. And Leroy Green, I'm going to find out who you really are, Leroy.
Grind me for life.
We can move on,
Shout out to KD with the super chat. He said Eminem has been garbage for 15 years. Game has been dropping better music for a while. Let's be real. A lot of rappers are better than Eminem now. And you know what? And it's interesting you say it like that, Eminem now. Like, in my personal opinion, a lot of rappers have always been better than Eminem. And Eminem that we talk about in his prime, musically, he wasn't clicking on those cylinders. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he could get on a record like The Sway and Tech, do his thing and stand out on the anthem is what I'm talking about. But when it came down to his individual material, I can't sit there and say that it stood next to the Supreme Clientels or, even the Like Water for Chocolates or the Bees and the blueprints of its day. So I think that part of it's ill-advised too. But yes, if we're talking about from 2002 on, it's not even a conversation. He's not even in the arena of, what output has been coming out of hip-hop efforts.
I think you said something very important that I think people need to know. Okay, and this is for the people who think that we might be biased towards Eminem because he's white, or think that you're a racist, Mike, or think that M has a catalog that stacks up the game. M hasn't been really in the limelight and known for his quality of material since 2002, correct?
Correct.
Game
no. He's actually been in the limelight, but his music hasn't aged well.
I said for his music, as in for quality of music, as in the hip hop community is listening to the music and embracing the music as a whole. Because even if you don't love those albums, Mike, we on some sort of level really did embrace the first 3 albums. That's the Slim Shady, Marshall Mathers, and Eminem show. Correct. Game comes out with the documentary in 2004 and has been making hit music ever since. That's 18 years worth of making music. People act like Game showed up like 10 years ago. It's like, no, Game is getting close to going on his second decade. Like, the documentary is a couple years away from celebrating its 20th anniversary. He's been here for a minute. Like, if you want to go down a list of a lot of his hit records, it's pretty long and very Rick Ross and T.I. like.
And I think that at the level that he's at for how long he's been doing it, he has all right to say that he's better than anybody. You know what I mean? Like, anybody out. Because, I think that if we look at the parameters, I know that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is giving Eminem 25 years in the game. But let's be real. Eminem came in the game in 99, right? Made his seminal effort in 2000. Game only comes a few years after that. So it's not like Game's out here talking about he's better than Slick Rick or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's talking about someone who is really in his peer group. And somebody in his peer group that hasn't made a great album. A great album with fanfare. Let's just say it that way, because honestly, I'm going to be real. Recovery is a good album. It's not a bad album. I wouldn't say it's great or anything like that. But any album with fanfare, he hasn't made one in 20 years. So yes, he's well beyond his right to say what he's saying. And my thing is, and what I said in the video, and what I'm going to say again, for all you Eminem fans who want to sit here and pull up whatever nigga said this and this about Eminem, or whatever top 10 nigga said this and this about Eminem, It's time to prove it. It's time to prove it. We don't need to hear what Rakim said about Eminem. I don't care what Cool G Rap thinks about Eminem, and I say this respectfully. I want to let the music talk. I'm tired of hearing about what this nigga said Eminem could do or what this person said Eminem could do. Prove it. We got something like a Versus now, and this is a stage where people can play their music back to back. And we can prove it. And y'all always talking about people don't want to call Eminem out, and when somebody does, they clout chasing. Oh, okay, that's convenient.
So with that said, I think one of the things that happens in this debate for people who might be fans of Eminem, listen to what I'm about to say. I think they have game a little misconstrued as an MC/rapper or whatever. And here's why.
They're scared.
No. Listen to what I'm about to say. I think for a lot of people who are familiar with game, who are Eminem fans, they are only familiar with the rapper that they hear on the documentary. And that is not a fair assessment of the MC.
You're right. And that's exactly what it is, because the gentleman who called me a racist said people would only know 2 songs. That's obviously somebody who just heard the documentary.
So correct. And so if you only know Game as a rapper on the documentary, all you know is a guy who is capable of making hit records by himself and capable of making hit records with other people. He's not great as an MC on the documentary. But like he said, Mike, what's his favorite album that he made? Doctor's Advocate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to know
he's always been vocal about that.
No, Mike, I feel him on that. I still prefer Jesus Piece, but when I look back at it, Doctor's Advocate might be slightly better than Jesus Piece, and here's why. Much like Big did, it's been very rare that a rapper has had this much fanfare, sold this many records, had this much notoriety already, and gotten obviously better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously better. He's a supremely better rapper on Doctor's Advocate. Some of his best stuff and moments as a solo MC has in no other MCs on the track.
I agree.
Or literally on the record right after the documentary. And so it's like, if you're not following his career, as in if you jumped off the train when 50 disbanded him and when he stopped getting beats from Dr. Dre, well, what you missed was the evolution of one of the greatest MCs of all time, because he's dope on Doctor's Advocate as an MC. He's great on LAX, and he's pretty much, been some suspect albums here and there, Mike, but for the most part, like I said, catalog is very Rick Ross-like.
I think he's the most improved MC of all time. He's one of them. Him and Rick Ross too. Rick Ross is in that conversation as well.
Him, Rick Ross, Fat Joe is in that echelon of MCs where it's just like, man, they got Jeezy. Mm-hmm.
Let me get to the super chat real quick. Shout out to The Web 100. He said Jay in '97 was still playing second fiddle to Mace and Busta, let alone Nas and Big. That's a factual thing there, I must admit. And then we got LB216. He says subject matter would have received massive backlash. Oh, Eminem's subject matter would have received massive backlash if he were not white. What do y'all think? I totally agree. I think that let's close our eyes, right, and imagine any MC of the traditional hip hop culture, because I don't even want to use race, because they're gonna take that and blow it up, killing their baby mother on record. Oh, you would have so many people saying, oh, this person hates women. We got to protect our women, yada, yada. Or a MC of the culture dissing their mom and burying their mom. How well do you think that would go over?
I think it would go over to the same. Okay, so
it's never happened.
No. I mean, the closest thing, Cool G Rap has a record where he talks about abusing a woman. Okay. And the theme of the record is the abuse of the woman. Okay?
Okay.
And not too many people know that record. You want to know why?
They weren't going to put that out.
They weren't about to put that out, and the subject matter of the record was not well received, although it was Cool G Rap. This is somebody with way more credibility as an MC that Eminem is ever going to hope to have. And so that's what it would look like. It would look like a lot of these records wouldn't see the light of day, and only the real core fans would know, like me. Right?
Yeah. Right. KD says, what Eminem project in the last 15 years comes close to the documentary 2.5? I'll wait. I think that's a good assessment. And again, these are the things that are fueling what Game is saying. At this point, with the output that the Game has put out there, why should he bow to Eminem and say that he's not on Eminem's level? You know what I mean? And anybody who feels like he should is ill-informed of what's been going on. Or they just, like Game said, his response to Nori, and I'm quoting Game, he said, "Oh, you think I should just bow to the white man," or something like that? You heard what he said on Drink Champs?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, because other than that, what are we talking about? Because Nori's first thing was, "Oh, you don't want it with Eminem." Why?
Says who?
Says who? At this point, man, all that shit, niggas gotta prove that. We've said that, and for the Eminem fans out there, we've said that about Jay-Z too. When Jay said no one could see him on that Versus stage, you got to prove that. We can't just sit here and be like, take everybody's word for, oh, nobody wants it with Eminem. Because from my vantage point, and I don't know if you guys are paying attention, MGK wanted it with Eminem, and he roasted him. Rap Devil is much better than Kill Shot. I listened to both records back to back again today just to make sure I wasn't tripping. And so if MGK wants it with Eminem, what makes you think Game is out of the range of this?
Very problematic.
Another person that they tried to tell to stay in their place when it came to Eminem was Nick Cannon. And my thing is, this man went out here and dissed this man's wife on record. How many of y'all are going to sit here and let anybody diss your wife on record and just sit there and take that? See, that's the mentality we got here when it comes to Eminem. For whatever reason, people feel like you should just sit there and take that. And regardless of what people feel about Nick Cannon as an MC, as a man, no one is going to sit there and let anybody disrespect their wife, period, let alone on record for the world to hear and do nothing about it. What are we talking about?
So,
P. White said, Coop getting the research.
So, I think, because I told you, Mike, this is my year of providing evidence. Like, people be out here committing crimes, talking all this, that, and the other. No, I like evidence. This is your evidence. I think that Game has enough records just on the documentary, Doctor's Advocate, LAX, and Jesus Piece, without even having to touch the records on 2 or 2.5 to fade Eminem. And I'm just going to throw Red Nation in off the Red album.
That we're back. Sorry about that, guys. I think the Interscope machine tried to shut us down real quick. You there, Coop?
Yeah, I'm right here.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
We're back. Somebody said Eminem had enough. Yeah, Eminem was like, yo, man, pull the plug on these guys.
More time. So just more time to tally up the evidence.
Okay, tallying up the evidence. So you were basically saying that you feel like the Game with Red Nation included and all of these albums has enough smoke for Eminem's catalog, period.
Yeah, like he wouldn't even necessarily have to go into the documentary or the documentary 2.5. This is what I'm saying. He could go through he could stay in the first 10 years of his career, is what I'm saying. So,
because I found it really interesting in this diatribe that was, I guess, this rant about me being racist. The records that he came up with, he said Eminem has at least 20 records that most people can name off top. Without Me, which is not a really good record. Lose Yourself, which I do think is Eminem's best record. My Name Is, I don't think that's a really good record to play in the verses either. Stand Until I Collapse, on and on. Those 5 that were named, when it comes to Game, I think 3 out of those 5 alone are a loss.
Yeah. So
like straight up. Like Without Me is not a good song. Like, this looks like a job for me, so everybody just ride with me. It's not going to play well in the verses.
No, it's going to play well.
We're going to put Red Nation up on that and put Red Nation up against Till I Collapse.
So that's what I'm saying. So where you want to go? So look, let's start with the documentary. He's got just on this album alone, and this isn't even Game the Great MC yet. It's got West Side Story, Hate It or Love It, Put You on the Game, How We Do, Dreams, Church for Thugs, Running, Like Father, Like Son, Don't Worry, Where I'm From with Nate Dogg. That's just the first album.
You know what? Let me be honest, and I'm just keeping it real. Lose Yourself is Eminem, in my opinion, one of his best songs, if not his best song. Dreams beats that.
Did you just look? I mean, listen to all the records that I just named. That's the first album, okay? Let's go.
Dreams beats Lose Yourself, people.
But did you listen to these records? Where I'm From with Nate Dogg, Don't Worry with Mary J. Blige, Like Father, Like Son with Busta Rhymes, Running with Tony Yayo, Church for Thugs, that's the Just Blaze track. Put You on the Game with Timberland. How We Do Hate It or Love It with 50. Dreams and West Side Story. 50 on the Hook with West Side Story. Like, these are all, Mike, when you go to Cali, Mike, listen to what I'm saying. When you go to Cali, you'll hear all of these records on the radio.
Okay. Yeah. Keep going.
They'll play all these records on the radio in Cali.
That's just the first album. That's first album.
Then you go to second album, It's Okay, One Blood. Let's Ride, Storch joint. Wouldn't Get Far, the Kanye joint. Compton, the Will I Am joint. Scream On 'Em, my personal favorite, the Swiss Beat joint. The Bang joint. Around the World with Jamie Foxx. Why You Hate the Game with Nas. Cali Vacation with Exhibit and Corrupt.
Damn.
That's the first two albums, Mike. That's 20 right there. Where are we at? I didn't even count. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, Leroy Green says, "Game, dope boys." Shout out to Leroy Green. We believe We believe that Leroy Green is Memphis Bleak. That's our hypothesis here.
First of all, Leroy, I was just talking about you. I'm gonna find you. And second of all, we haven't gotten to LAX yet. I have Dope Boys written down. Stop stealing my shine before I really start looking for you. You got it?
No, that wasn't Leroy. That was somebody else. Yeah, okay. Leroy, we need those Rock Nation, not Rock Nation passes, but the brunch. I think Leroy can get us in the brunch.
Little media pass.
Yeah. We need media passes to the Rock Nation brunch, Leroy. We need that.
Look, that's 19 records on the first two albums. Then you go to LAX. He's got Bulletproof Diaries with Raekwon. Letter to the King with Nas. Angel with Common. Games Pain with Keisha Cole. Dope Boys with Travis Scott. My Life with Lil Wayne. California Sunshine with Bilal.
I forgot about My Life.
The House of Pain record, which is the hardest joint on there. We 25, 30 songs deep after 3 albums. This dude's dope. Like I said, and we can stop right there and just throw Red Nation in for fun. And those records are enough right there. We can pull from about those 25, 26, 27 records.
And you're not even getting into Jesus Piece. I was listening to the Jesus Piece the other day, man. Dope.
Hold on, we insert Jesus Piece in this, Mike. It's not fair. Can I interest you in some Ali Boumaier, Jesus Piece, Pray, Church, Name Me King, Hallelujah, Celebrate? No, it's not even fair. It's not